Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday, NYFA's virtual series specifically designed for Nebraska communities and housing partners. Today, our topic is Isusu, helping people build credit through renting. My name is John Turner, Partner and Program Development Manager at the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority. Also joining me today from NYFA is Joe Spitzen, Program and Education Coordinator, who's behind the scenes managing the chat and the questions. Our presenter today is Andy Linder, who is the Director of Sales at Isusu. And we just learned that Andy is coming to us live from the 27th floor of the Empire State Building, which we both thought was pretty cool. Before we get started, I did want to remind everyone that mortgage and utility assistance are available for homeowners in Nebraska. If you or someone you know needs help, please go to Nebraska HAF, that's nebraskahaf.com, to apply for the Nebraska Homeowner Assistance Fund. If you have any questions from our speaker today, please use the Zoom's question feature, not the chat. Use that to input your questions, and we'll hold those until after the presentation. Please feel free to use the chat for your own discussion and questions for each other, and the question feature for anything you'd like me to ask the presenter on camera. Or if you prefer, you can ask your question out loud by letting us know and we can unmute you. This webinar is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel at NYFA Housing. You can find a link to our YouTube channel on our website at nyfa.org under Community Development Trainings and Webinars. We do have lots of videos out there that I would highly recommend. So thanks again for attending, and let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Andy.
Perfect. Thank you, John. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Andy Linder. I'm Director of Sales and Partnerships here at Isusu. Been with the company almost 2 years now. I started in January 2021 when Isusu was only about 6 people in the US. Now we're a little bit shy of 200. So we've experienced a lot of growth over the last few years, and all for an incredible vision to bridge the racial wealth gap through the power of data and our mission to dismantle barriers to housing for working families. I'm actually, as John mentioned, I'm in the Empire State Building today, working from the LinkedIn office. I used to work at LinkedIn for 4.5 years before Isusu. LinkedIn has an amazing office in Omaha. So not sure if anyone is based in Omaha, but they do have an incredible LinkedIn office. So if you know anyone there. But enough about that. Really excited to share a little bit more about our company and credit building as it pertains to rent. So the word Esusu is actually a Nigerian proverb, and it means if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, which we think is really inspiring. And everything that we do here at the company is rooted in the stories of our founders. You can see in this picture from 2018, Samir on the left and Wemimo on the right. They are our co-founders and co-CEOs of the company, and they both came to this country as immigrants, where they couldn't get a credit card, they couldn't get a bank account, and they certainly didn't have a credit score, and it made life really difficult for them. When Mimo on the right, he always tells the story that when he moved from the slums of Lagos, Nigeria to the US when he was 17 to go to college, he tried to take out a loan to pay for his first semester. The bank turned him down, and he had to get a payday predatory loan of over 400% interest. So that's what we're here to prevent moving forward. And you can see, again, our company has experienced a lot of growth. When I started, we were just a seed startup, and with about 6 employees here in the US, about 20 overall across the world, but feeling very fortunate that in 2021, Serena Williams actually led our Series A round of financing, for any tennis fans out there. And then we actually hit a unicorn $1 billion valuation earlier this year at the end of January. But what do we do? So Isusu partners with multifamily and single family owners and operators, and we do 3 main things today. The first is, as residents are paying their rent on time, we partner with property management software platforms like Yardi, RealPage, MRI, Entrata, Resman, etc. And we automatically report on-time rental payments to the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, to help people build credit or potentially even establish credit for the first time. We can work with anyone. As you can imagine, the majority of our clients are affordable housing, workforce housing, student housing. We have plenty of market rate and luxury properties in our portfolio as well. So that's when life is going well. We're helping people build credit. If life is not going well, we opt them out of rent reporting automatically. so that no one is negatively scored. And instead, we've raised a rent relief fund. So this is all philanthropic capital from nonprofits and foundations that want to solve homelessness, like the Global Good Fund, Acumen Fund, Target Foundation, Dell Foundation. And a resident can go on our website and apply for up to 3 months of rent. And if they're approved, we wire that money directly to the property. So you keep cash flow healthy. We pay you in 3 to 4 weeks, end to end, from when the application starts to when the resident gets approved. And we, as Isuzu, work with the resident to help them pay that back at 0% interest, no hidden fees over 12 months. John, Joe, and I were talking earlier about, emergency rental assistance. We understand that, free money is better than money you need to pay back. So of course you can still, if those programs still exist in various capacities in Nebraska, of course you can still apply for those, encourage your residents to do so, but it does not preclude them from also applying for rent relief through Isuzu, which is really important. And then finally, the last product that we have is we actually package up all the data that we're collecting for you, for the owners and operators that we work with, and showcase that through a dashboard. So you're able to see statistics that you can see here on the bottom, such as the number of credit scores that we've established for the very first time, the average increase in people's credit scores, what % of your portfolio has improved their credit score through using Isuzu, the number of evictions that we've prevented through the rent relief fund, etc. So this is just a mock-up, but we have the dashboard that's specialized for each client that we have. I'm not monitoring the chat, but any questions so far that I can help answer? No, I've gone through a lot.
No, it doesn't look like yet.
Okay, thanks, John. Perfect. So just to go a little bit deeper on each of the solutions, as I mentioned, the way that the rent reporting works, and this is our core product, is we plug in with the property management software. It's a 10-minute process up front. We want to make it super simple. Something that we've learned working in this industry now for a few years is we want to add value, but not effort to your teams on site. Of course, we want to give them enough to be dangerous, but they don't have to do anything. Essentially, once we set up that integration, all of the rent reporting happens in the background. So that makes it super simple. And then each month, in the eyes of the credit bureaus, a late payment is determined to be 30 days. So at the end of the month, like at the end of September, beginning of October, we'll report the September payments. For anyone who's been on time, we don't market that. Of course, you might have late fees, etc. But at the beginning of the following month is when we report for the previous month. And then something that's special about what we do is we can also do a look back of up to 24 months if a resident has been on the same lease, and we can automatically report those on-time payments as well. So it's usually a big bump to people's credit scores right from the get-go with the program. And then in terms of the rent relief, how that works is residents go to our website. It takes about 2 to 5 minutes for them to apply for the rent relief. You put in a custom referral code. So each client that we have puts in a referral code. So random people off the street cannot apply for a Isuzu rent relief. You have to be part of one of our partner buildings. The only work that we have our property manager do when somebody applies, they'll get an email saying that resident X has applied for rent relief. The property manager just verifies, yes, this is a real human in the building, and yes, the amount of rent that they've asked for is correct. And then once they do that, we take care of the rest of the process. We'll go through the underwriting process. We don't want to leave people behind. The biggest reason somebody would not be approved is if they are more than 3 months behind in their rent. Otherwise, we tend to approve the vast majority of residents. We just don't want to give loans, even at 0% interest, no hidden fees, to people where it might not help them. And then finally, we collect your bank account details up front securely, of course, so that we can pay you once that resident is approved. I think we have a question in the chat. Does this service cost the property managers? So Tish, great question. So the short answer is yes, and I'll get into this. But the way that the pricing works is it's a flat monthly cost to the property of typically it's $2 per unit per month. And that includes access to everything that we do. That includes the rent reporting to the credit bureaus, that includes access to the rent relief fund, and that includes the ESG data and the dashboard. If we are doing our job right from the rent relief fund, we are paying you more from that fund than you're paying us for the services of everything that we do. So that's number one. And then we do have incentives if our clients use Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac as a funding source. So we can go through those details as well in a little bit. think we have another question. Oh, maybe not. No, I think that was just one question.
No, one of the things, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Keep going. I'll come back.
All right. No problem, John. Cut me off if anything happens, if you get it back. But yes,
Will do.
yeah, so in terms of our value prop with rent reporting, the studies show, there's a TransUnion study that I can send after to anyone interested, that Isuzu customers experience up to 25% higher percentage of on-time payments as a result of doing rent reporting. 2 out of 3 people actually prefer an apartment building, all things equal, to one without rent reporting. We can increase the rent collection, obviously through the rent relief fund, and then impact measurement. So if ESG, social impact data, if that's important for you all for future investment opportunities, that is certainly a reason to use Isuzu. From like a social impact standpoint, we want to quantify that piece. We want to be able to show you, again, like percentage of residents that have improved their credit scores, number of new credit scores established, et cetera. And here is a very crowded slide, but you might recognize some of our partners. These are some of our superstar clients that we work with across the country. We're in all 50 states. There are actually a few properties that we work in Bellevue, Nebraska, that John, Joe, and I were talking about earlier. So we already have presence there. But as I mentioned, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are big partners of ours now. With Freddie, automatically, if you are a borrower with Freddie Mac, you get discounted pricing of actually $1.50 per unit per month and a closing cost rebate on a future financing. So that's really, really important to know, and something we're really excited about. Fannie Mae, for any existing loans with Fannie Mae, this is hot off the press. We had a press release yesterday. Fannie will actually cover the full cost of Isuzu for any properties that have an existing Fannie Mae loan on them for 2 years for the cost of services. So that's really exciting as well. I'm just keeping an eye on the Q&A.
Yeah, the question I was going to ask you about earlier was,
yeah, go for it.
So it sounds like the process to get that rent relief is, we're coming out of the emergency rental assistance, and we provided some help with that, and they required a lot of documentation. So what you're saying is it's pretty simple for the information that you need, because the landlord's already done all the screening basically. And I mean, what I heard from you was just a couple of pieces of info that you need.
Exactly. No, thanks, John. Yeah, it's very, very easy. Sometimes property managers will assist the resident, but essentially we want to know who they are, where they live, what their lease details are, why are they behind, why are they applying for this rental assistance from us. And that's really it. Like, again, we don't want to leave people behind. Samir and Wimimo, again, our founders, they're immigrants to this country. And we want to help people keep a roof over their head. And that's really what's inspired our mission and vision as a company. So we've deployed close to $10 million in rent relief so far of the last few years to our clients. And that's only growing. We have plenty of capital to disperse. We have no intention of getting rid of this part of our program because of how successful it's been and how big of a differentiator it is in the market.
Very good. Looks like we got a question.
Yes, Denise, is the rent relief available only for those who have landlords that are part of your program? Yes. So that's really important. That's a great question, Denise. So as long as you are in an Isuzu property, what we will do is share through flyering, through text messages and emails to the residents that we get through the property management software integration. We will let them know that this program exists, and we will give them the referral code. So we can use a name that's similar to the property name or the property management company name to make it really simple. And then from there, that's what gives the residents the ability to go on our website, apply. Once they put in the referral code, the list of the properties that we work with from that referral code will populate so that the resident can just pick their property and confirm their address and go from there. Cool. Yeah. Great question, John. And Denise. Perfect. This is a case study. So you might know BH Management. They're a national property management company. I actually work with them directly in my role. They're fantastic, based in Des Moines, Iowa. And right now we are active with Isuzu in over 34,000 of their units. And even in the short time that we've been working together this year in 2022, over almost 19,000 of their residents have already improved their credit scores, which is incredible. 56% of enrolled residents have improved their credit scores. We've established for the first time over 1,000 credit scores. And the average credit score has actually gone from I believe it's a 668 when we started, to a 680 now. And that's only improving. We typically like to see a full year. And on average, again, it varies depending on the types of properties that you have, the scale with the Isuzu, but our average client sees a 51-point increase across the board in the average credit score, which is pretty powerful. Our commitment, again, I mentioned this earlier. Oh, well, here, I'll take a question first. If a tenant were to receive 3 months of rent relief, do they have to pay this back? Yes, Tish, good question. So yes, they do. How that works is it's a 12-month repayment period. So for easy math's sake, let's say that their rent amount is $1,200. They would pay it back to Isuzu in 12 equal installments of $100. Or if they take out, 3 months, it would be $300 a month to pay it back over 12 months. So they can continue to apply. Even if they don't get approved the first time, we encourage people to apply again. They can take out up to 3 months at any given time. So let's say they take out 1 month and then they take out another month a few months later, they can do that up to 3 months. And then sometimes folks pay it back even faster than 12 months, and then they can continue applying and get approved from there, hopefully. Cool. Good question. And then finally, the Isuzu Commitment, we want to add value, but not effort to your teams. We have 24/7 customer service, and you would also have a dedicated account manager to help you. And, we want to make this super simple and a successful program. And we've seen a lot of growth. Tish, does it reflect negatively if they do not pay back the loan on time? Great question. The answer is no, it does not reflect negatively. This is all philanthropic capital that we've raised from nonprofits and foundations that want to solve homelessness. So ultimately, we can just write it off. We don't market that to residents. Of course, we want the money back so that we can keep the fund evergreen. And we'll even work with residents if 12 months isn't enough. If they need 18 months to pay it back, 24 months to pay it back, we'll work with them. We want this to be successful and for them ultimately to stay in their home. But ultimately, we will just write it off, and you get to keep that amount of money again up front. Good question. So that's a presentation. I know we dedicated an hour for that, but hopefully that's helpful just in terms of an overview. Happy to take any additional questions that you all have in the remaining time. And then I'm sure John and Joe will share my email as well. Any other questions?
Sure. One of the things we had talked about as we were kind of getting ramped up for this, and I'm glad you talked about, like all of the benefits for a landlord to participate. I think initially when we heard about it, we thought, well, if a tenant knows that their rent is helping boost their credit score, then maybe they're going to be more of a vested tenant and, be more, engaged with the entire process and really understand their impact, and what they can do, like actually by paying that rent, they're going to benefit from it. Do you have any other statements about really that benefit for landlords?
Yeah, no, it's
property managers. Sorry, I think
property managers.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, I think there's benefit within each of the products. With rent reporting, this drives on-time payments. This can be offered as an amenity. Again, if you're competing with other buildings down the street for residents, if you have vacancies, then this is something that people want. The studies show that people want rent reporting available at their properties. Only 10% of rental data actually currently gets submitted to the credit bureaus. But this is typically someone's largest expense is their rent. So this can make a huge impact on their lives moving forward. Even if you have recent graduates who can refinance student loans, that is money back in their pocket that they can have. They can get a credit card. These are things that actually mean something in the United States. So that's a rent reporting piece for landlords. For the rent relief, again, like our goal here is we want to pay you more. We want you to have a positive ROI on this program. So we're paying you more from rent relief than you're paying us for the services of everything that we do, whether that's the $2 per unit, the $150 a unit. If you have Fannie Mae properties, it's guaranteed to be a positive ROI if you get any sort of rent relief from us. So again, that's the value there for the property management company. And then people are really talking about ESG now. Like, this is really important to stay ahead of the curve, similar to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, people want to be able to showcase what they're doing for residents. If you have any on-site programs pertaining to financial literacy, education, et cetera, this is a great way to complement it by saying, like, we have the sessions in person, but we also have the technology to help you actually boost your credit scores through something you're already doing. You don't have to change your behavior if you're paying your rent.
Yeah, looks like you got some questions in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah. Have you, Denise said, have you considered collaborating with the Metro Housing Collaborative in Omaha? I mean, I don't know if we have yet, Denise, but we would love to. So let's follow up on that afterwards. I'm going to make a note on that, but would love to talk with you about that and what that would look like. Absolutely. And then Chanel said, does the repayment for the rent relief start the following month after the funds are sent? Yes. For a while, transparently, Chanel, we actually started it a few months after, like, to give a grace period in case people needed time. But what ended up happening is people assumed that they wouldn't have to pay back the funds if they're like, oh, I didn't have to pay it right away. Like, why would I need to pay this eventually? So there was sort of a miscommunication there. So to help people build good habits, we want them to be able to start paying back the rent relief after the month after they receive it. But again, it's 1 divided by 12 of whatever they've taken out. It is absolutely not the full amount. You know, we want to make this equal installments to help people get back on their feet slowly. Whether, you know, for example, if they have a flat tire, if they have hospital bills to pay, the holidays are coming up, people have to buy gifts, they're hosting their families, they have to buy dinner, whatever it may be. But, you know, we do require them to start paying back after they receive the funds.
You know, I have a question. How would this integrate with someone who receives a Section 8 housing voucher, where, you know, based on their income, they're paying, the rent's $1,000 and they're paying $500 based on their income?
Yeah, John, we have plenty of Section 8 properties that we work with, and that's totally fine. We would support, from the rent reporting side, as long as they have a $0 balance, we report that as on time. So it doesn't need to be like the full amount. It's whatever, as long as they have a $0 balance in the property management software, you have told us that they have paid on time, we will count that. For rent relief, we just clarify how much the resident has to pay, and we will distribute that amount. So no worries there. You know, again, very much ties into our mission and vision. So we want to help those with Section 8 vouchers.
Okay, good. Yeah, so then that really does hit different income levels, you know, the working poor, or, you know, even folks that maybe were previously homeless and they're in a place receiving a rent subsidy that might have a lower income. So that's good to know. And, you know, that made me think, you know, when I start thinking about that, I think about different populations that we hear about and work with. And one, I used to provide housing assistance prior to this job, and working with youth that maybe were transitioning out of foster care, or just kind of that, their first rental, they're 19, you know, and sometimes I wonder, is it harder to go into a rental situation with no credit or bad credit? But you're building it with this, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, John, it's a great point. You know, that's what we'll find is, like, this gives people the ability, even if they're approved within the month for the rent relief, we can count that as on time. Again, our process end to end is 3 to 4 weeks. So hopefully if we disperse those funds before the end of the month, we can even consider that person on time, and then they're building credit still. So it's a great program in that sense. Yeah, on all sides.
Yeah, it looks like
Rob,
we have another question from our
yes.
one of our IFA colleagues, and we are going through a lot. So I say, let's go ahead and repeat what you might have said already.
Perfect, no worries. Rob, what happens if somebody doesn't pay their rent or pays late and doesn't apply for assistance? Does that negatively impact their credit? So good question, Robin. The answer is no, it does not negatively impact their credit. How it works is, after 30 days is when we will do the reporting. So for the month of September, we give folks, in the eyes of the Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, they have until the 30th to pay their rent. So we report usually on the 2nd or the 3rd of the following month. And when we do that, if for anyone who has not paid late or paid on time, we opt them out automatically. So they're not negatively scored. We do not send that data to the credit bureaus. This is okay in the eyes of the credit bureaus because they want to help people too. Of course, they want to see the full files for people, but they just want data right now on rent reporting. So that's very much in the wheelhouse. We actually hired the head of rent reporting from TransUnion, and now he is our credit reporting specialist on our team. So we have plenty of backing there, which is great. So hopefully that answers that question. Denise said, if you're using the Yardi system for the public housing tenants, will this start reporting now on public housing and Section 8 rental payments to the credit reporting agencies? When will we start to see this? So we should. I don't know if there's a nuance that I might not know, but again, like what we do through the integration with Yardi, let's say, is we just get the details on the personal information, the lease information, the landlord information, and then, you know, whether or not they've paid on time. And then when we do that, we just want to see that they have a $0 balance, and then that is considered an on-time payment. So I don't know if I'm missing anything with that, but yeah, we work with public housing and Section 8 currently for other partners.
And ultimately, then the property manager does need to participate in the program. It's not just because you're using Yardi, but that, yeah.
Correct. Exactly. Yes, you do need to use a third party, being Isuzu or one of our competitors. There are others that are fighting the same fight, but I would say the biggest differentiators, if you've heard about other rent reporting companies, number one is the backing by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They've chosen Isuzu as their preferred partner for rent reporting. Number two is our mission and vision, and this fulfills like DE&I goals. You know, both of our founders are underrepresented minorities, and so that's important for some folks. And then the rent relief, like no one can really touch us when it comes to our rent relief program as a supplement to what we do with rent reporting.
Denise had a follow-up.
Yes, will it automatically show up on credit, or do we have to request it to show up? It will automatically come up, which is great. If anyone does have questions, sometimes we'll get people writing into us saying that, you know, what is this? What does the Isuzu financial mean? Again, we will do an onboarding session with all of your property managers, just so that they, again, have enough to be dangerous. They're the ones on site. They can answer a few questions. We have a catch-all email. It's rentsupport@isuzu.org. So we direct all questions to our customer support team that way. But yes, typically it will show up just like right away on the credit report within a few months. Like these credit bureaus are a little bit dinosaurs of companies, but yes, it usually hits within 3 months or so after we start reporting.
It's exciting to see the active questions coming in.
Yes, we love it. We love the questions.
And, you know, just so those of you that have attended NIFA webinars before, we do kind of, I think this isn't the last you'll see of Isuzu. We've extended an invite to our conference next year. So more to come, and, you know, stay on top of our emails and our website announcements. But that's actually how we heard about Isuzu, was us attending a conference out of state. So.
Oh.
And we did target this, like I had mentioned, Andy, we did target this to our property managers that work with our low-income housing tax credit program. But the good news is this is being recorded, because, yeah, you went over a lot of great information. And I think I'll even need to go back and look up some info or shoot you an email. But it's a great resource, and we're excited to learn more about it.
Amazing. Yeah, well, I'm happy to do this again. If for anyone who's interested in taking this back to your teams and want to set up a separate call, either myself or someone from my team would be happy to meet with you to chat more about it. And then I'll also send the links for John and Joe to on the Fannie and Freddie announcements. Fannie, again, was literally yesterday. Chanel said, you might have mentioned this, but is the rent relief for past due rent only, or future, or both? Great question. I didn't mention that. And the answer is both, Chanel. So great question. We actually see primarily past due rent, which is great. You know, we want to help people catch up and stay in their homes. But that being said, we do also see folks apply for future looking rent. And that is great too, because again, maybe you know that November is going to be a tough month for you, you know, Thanksgiving time, whatever it may be. You can apply in advance. That way, once the process ends, that your property management company can apply that to that month of your ledger. So yes, absolutely both. And then Denise, appreciate you putting your email in the chat. I will send you a note after this, and we'll take note of that as well. So thank you.
All right, good. I'm glad you got that. I just
was
making a note of it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Just kind of checking to see if there's any other messages or anything actually through the Q&A, but it doesn't look like it. I think you touched on the stuff that I was going to ask you about. So yeah, this was great information. And like I said, we're excited to learn more. We'd love to see you at our conference. Okay, here, another question from Robin.
I got another question. Love them.
Yeah.
So from Robin, are there any reasons somebody would not be approved for the assistance? Yes. So the number one reason why somebody would not be approved is they are more than 3 months behind in their rent. Again, that's our sweet spot. Those who are less than or equal to 90 days behind. We just like doing the research that we have and, working with clients on this for a few years now, we've noticed that for anyone who's more than 3 months behind, it's just not a great fit, that they ultimately, have other things probably going on in their lives. And especially for those who have been sort of gaming the system in the last few years, we're not really in the business of helping those folks. The other reason that somebody wouldn't get approved is for KYC reasons or know your customer, or like because they don't live in one of our buildings. So as you can imagine, people tell their friends and their family about Isuzu, and that's great. But at this time, we are prioritizing those folks that actually live in one of the properties that's using Isuzu for both rent reporting, rent relief, and the ESG data. So that's a good question, Robin.
Yes. I was just going to throw in that, we hope to see you at our conference in April. We're getting ready to send out information about that. Don't want anyone to miss an opportunity.
Yes.
Let's see.
Oh,
Andy.
anonymous. Oh, but Jeff, okay. I would love to talk to you about our eviction prevention work. That's amazing. I've sent you an email. Yes. Amazing. Yes, Jeff. Sounds like you're very, aligned with our mission, and that's fantastic, doing eviction prevention work. So I just took down your name as well, and we'll reply to your email. And I can put my email in the chat as well.
Very good.
Andy@isusu.org. So hopefully that comes through.
Yep, I see it.
Perfect. Awesome.
Very good. Well, we even made some connections today. Perfect.
Yes, love it. Live from the LinkedIn office. So I'm glad we're making connection.
Right. All right. Sounds good. Well, we do appreciate the time today, Andy. Appreciate all the information you shared, and I want to thank everybody for attending. And like I said, this is recorded. We'll get it up on our YouTube channel as soon as we can. And you can go to YouTube and type in NYFA housing. You'll see all kinds of great webinar topics. Or you can go to the NYFA website, nyfa.org, and look under community development trainings and webinars. So again, very nice to meet you, and we'll look forward to connecting with Isuzu in the future.
Yes. Thank you, John. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please keep me posted if you have any questions, and looking forward to seeing you all soon.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.
Perfect.
All right.
Take care.
Yep.
Have a good day. Bye, everyone.